Hey guys, you probably won't survive this one without muttering "no way" at least twice because it starts with a man in uniform doing something so unthinkable, so brazen, you'll swear it had to be staged only it wasn't. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. I want to see where you're listening from. The sound isn't even a shout, it's a thud flat, sharp, echoing off those tile-lined hallways that smell faintly of bleach and last week's tater tots. Officer Robert Jennings doesn't just block the way. He lunges, boots connecting square with the stomach of 7-year-old Amani Carter. The air leaves her in a rush, not with a scream, but with a small, involuntary gasp, the kind you hear when a kid trips on the playground, except this isn't a playground, and there's no laughter waiting to follow. Teachers freeze in doorways, students edge their phones halfway out, but no one quite dares to hit record not yet. Fear works like that. Historians still argue whether it's a freeze or a learned politeness that keeps witnesses quiet. Jennings leans down, breath sour with coffee and chewing tobacco, muttering about stolen iPads, about kids like her learning to lie before they can read. He slaps her across the face, one of those slaps that sounds louder in the mind than in the air, and drags her by the arm toward the office. What he doesn't notice, or maybe doesn't care to, is the small black recorder zipped in her pocket, already humming with a blinking red light. Her mother, Celeste, had given it to her 2 Christmases ago, not a toy, a shield. If you're not stronger than them, record the way they're weak. Miles away, in a beige 2-story with ivy climbing the siding, Celeste reads a text from her daughter. "I didn't cry, but they made me stop believing." She doesn't throw her mug. She doesn't even exhale hard. Instead, she walks into the school like someone who once held nuclear deactivation codes because she did and slides a faded White House ID across the principal's desk. Jennings struts in, tossing barbs about Mama Bear, but his grin slips when she demands the roster, ID numbers, and surveillance footage. Her calm isn't absence of anger. It's the precision of someone reacquainted with a battlefield. That night, she pulls Jennings's name through databases most civilians wouldn't know exist. He's no Kofi's Sentinel Strategic Solutions, a private security outfit with a specialty in proactive containment for schools with high minority populations. Buried in their contract is a liability clause so slippery it might as well have been printed on Teflon. No criminal investigation without 2 certified complaints. 3 exist, different kids, different towns, all buried. Celeste knows a pattern when she sees one. And this time, she's not just keeping the file. She's going to publish it. She doesn't add commentary, just uploads 37 seconds of raw hallway audio to a small but scrappy independent news site. Footsteps, Jennings's voice sneering about how kids need to be smacked early, the slap, and then that breath-short inhale, slow exhale, the sound of a child deciding not to cry. It goes live at 10:17 a.m. By lunch, the hashtag #RedDressAmani is everywhere. Teachers post that they've seen this look. Mothers upload pictures of daughters in red, some smiling, some stone-faced. By evening, the audio's on cable news with a viewer discretion warning. Historians still argue whether warnings help or just give people permission to look away. Celeste starts getting messages from journalists. 37 other parents across 11 states. Same pattern, same silence. They call it a reckoning. The school tosses Jennings on administrative leave, but his defenders, a hard right order in school's group, announce they'll cover his legal bills. For every voice shouting with Celeste, another shouts back. 2 days later, students at Magnolia Creek Elementary file out to the courtyard in red shirts. No chants, no speeches, just stillness in the cold. Principal Reginald Brooks, a man who's played both sides of the hallway mirror for years, takes a mic and admits he'd stayed quiet about something like this when he was a kid. It was wrong, he says, voice catching, and it was allowed. Celeste doesn't clap. She tells him her daughter doesn't need his apology. She needs him to teach his staff that children aren't rehearsal spaces for power. The movement spreads. A leaked Sentinel training slide surfaces. Monitors silent black, students indicators of latent dissent. It's as subtle as a chainsaw in a library. Celeste splits her growing archive into encrypted parts and hands them to 5 young attorneys with instructions. If anything happens to me, release everything at once. A crack appears. Sentinel's own operations director admits on camera that their student data was turned against the kids. Within days, 2 senators tied to their funding resign. Students, meanwhile, make the movement their own. They call it the Red Line. A second grader in Denver rolls up her sleeve on camera to show a scar, explaining calmly why she doesn't trust Mr. Davis anymore. In Ohio, teens code an app called Echo Justice, mapping verified reports of abuse in schools nationwide. Within a month, the map bleeds red coast to coast. Departments in Memphis, Baton Rouge, and Trenton rush to rewrite force policies lists because of conscience, more because they can't risk the next clip going viral. And just when it feels like the tide's turning, an old clip surfaces Eastgate Public High, a black boy kneeling in a restroom, a white officer kicking him between the shoulders. Caption: he was quiet too. Turner, the officer, calls it protocol. The kids call it exactly what it is, and they walk out in silent red waves from Charleston to Cheyenne. Celeste watches, not at the Capitol, not in a press scrum, but at her dining table, hands folded. She doesn't need to speak. The children already are. The ripple becomes law. After months of hearings, walkouts, and files that refuse to stay buried, the Amani Carter Act passes 3 tight provisions: quarterly public audits of school security, mandatory open access to archive surveillance, and the right for every student to record authority interactions. No fireworks in Congress, just a roll call and a pause. Outside, people exhale together. 3 states, Wyoming, Alabama, South Carolina, announced they're not prepared to implement. Translation: wait us out. But this time, the country doesn't. Students brand themselves the inked ones, a nod to permanence, to being written into the record. They walk out mid-spelling quiz, red on their sleeves, Amani's name in black marker. University recruiters skip visits to the holdout states, and donors set up relocation funds. Meanwhile, a quiet arm of the movement forms Sentinel trackers. Coders, cafeteria staff, even janitors feed a hidden database with notes, videos, and photos of officer conduct. Each file is time-stamped, verified, and locked for release. The idea is simple. If oversight won't watch, they will. The entries read like an unfiltered yearbook of things no school wants in its brochure: grabs, shoves, the quiet removal of non-compliant kids. And the public memory grows monuments. In Belmayer, a bronze statue of Olivia James goes up wheelchair-bound, recorder raised high. She was 13 when an enforcement officer shattered her arm. Now she's immortalized as the girl who recorded what others erased. At the unveiling, the officer who hurt her stands 20 feet away, cap low, face exposed to a silence heavier than any courtroom verdict. Olivia tells the crowd she came so he could hear her footsteps again. The ink spreads further, websites cataloging decorated for damage, maps of manufactured glory, and testimonies from alumni of elite schools like Lansbury Academy, where harm wore blazers instead of badges. Camden Lewis's video about being beaten without being hit inspires 17 students to skip class and write in black marker across the library wall. I was quiet because you were loud with rules. It's messy. It's not universally loved. Some call it performance, others redemption. A leaked photo of Jennings and another disgraced officer under a Sentinel training banner proves it's not about one bad applied to an orchard. Celeste's advice spreads like chalk dust. Don't listen to apologies. Listen to who taught them to speak. And the kids, God, the kids are listening. By the time the year turns, the red shirts aren't just protest wear, they're curriculum. In some schools, art teachers have kids paint hallways in their own colors. In others, civics classes debate real oversight policies instead of mock bills. The law's on the books, the bruises are in the open, and the silence? It's finally loud enough to hear. The wind down drifts slower now, as if the air itself takes its time weaving through the last corridors of this story. You picture those hallways once sharp with disinfectant and the metallic echo of lockers now, holding softer noises, the scuff of sneakers not in a rush, a door closing without a slam. Outside, the winter sun slides down over playground asphalt, turning each red shirt into a small ember against the gray. Somewhere a recorder's tiny red light still blinks, but not out of fear, any more out of habit, out of knowing that memory is its own kind of armor. Celeste sits on her porch. No cameras, no speeches, just the quiet rhythm of her daughter's breathing beside her. The wind plays with the hem of Amani's dress, and the stitches at the shoulder catch the light visible, imperfect, and exactly as they should be. The world is far from fixed, and they both know it. But tonight the street stays calm, the trees sway without warning, and no black SUV waits at the curb. Maybe tomorrow will bring another file, another voice, another bruise brought into daylight. Maybe it won't. Either way, the map has been drawn, the ink is set, and the smallest voices have found their volume. So, for now, you can let the picture fade to red against the pale tiles, the steady breath, the way a hallway once meant harm and now, just maybe, could mean courage.